is worth a round of applause. I mean, she survived me for a year. That's, actually another round of applause. And she's done some, I would say, truly groundbreaking research. And I will just leave the stage to Marte.
Hear me? Yeah? Hello. Thank you for your introduction. So, there are not a lot of girl speakers here, so I'm bringing a lot of pink for you. So yeah, I'm going to present what I've been working on for a year for my master's thesis. And just a couple of words about me. My name is Marte. I'm 23 years old from Norway, just completed my master's thesis. And I'm really excited to be here in LAge for the first time. Just in shock, or I haven't come. I'm completing shock. I don't believe I'm here. So yeah, I'm working as a developer at a consulting company. So that's what I'm going to do now when I'm going home from Vegas. So my talk is about passwords, graphical passwords, and I like to look at passwords and the predictability and the human aspects of passwords. Because humans are really predictable, and when we talk about predictability, that's not a good thing when we talk about security, right? So, my talk is going to focus on the Android catalog, as you probably know, on the right. So, when you're probably familiar with the PIN codes and the passcodes, and strategies such as creating a password with your name, your date of birth, that's really known to everybody, that people use that to be able to remember the password they create. So, when creating PIN codes, you're using numbers. When you're creating a passcode, you use letters and numbers that have a semantic meaning to you. But what about the dots? Are we able to predict what people are creating just to know who people are? Because that's kind of interesting how you can connect who you are to something that are not letters or numbers. So just a recap of the number of combination of the Android catalog, because I don't think people know how many combinations there actually are. Did someone guess? No. PIN codes are 10,000 combinations, and the Android catalog is close to 400,000 unique combinations. In numbers, that sounds pretty great, doesn't it? Yeah? Just, So, what I have been doing is I created a custom-made survey for collecting user-created patterns, as well as background information about the people that create the patterns. So just looking, I'm not just looking at the pattern themselves. It's also interesting to look at who actually created the patterns. So I have collected about 3,400 patterns, user-created patterns, from a survey, interactive survey, only running on the mobile phone. So it's collected from its intended environment. And I also asked all the respondents to create a pattern for a shopping account, mobile phone, and a banking account, to just give a broad perspective of where it's used. So not just to ask people, can you just create a pattern, just complete it and be finished. So people have to think about where the intended use is. So I just really like this graph, because the dark ones are people that have used the Android catalogs before, and the light one is people that have not used the Android catalogs before. And as you can see, for the patterns created for a shopping account and a banking account, the numbers here are the reaction time, the time they use to create the patterns. So for this one and for this one, it's about the same. But when you look at this one, there is a difference in the time used for creating the patterns. So for smartphone, people that have already used the Android and unlock pattern, they responded faster. Maybe because they actually gave away their password, right? So predictable. Yeah. Okay, so as I said, the Android pattern lock is you cannot use letters and not use numbers. So how can you connect the dots to who you are? What parameters can you use? So I looked at the screen size, for instance, hand size, reading, writing direction, gender, handedness, to see if they can impact the way we create patterns. I want to just give you a summary because of a new aspect of the patterns, because it's a graphical patterns, meaning that it's visual. You can see it. It's not just letters and numbers. So I've used a mathematical formula for calculating the visual complexity of a pattern. So for explaining it, both of the blue patterns are both a blank line. But as you can see, if you have watched over someone's shoulder when you created it, you can easily capture this one. But you should be very, very good if you could just look over someone's shoulder and capture that one. So, meaning you can just look at the security in a number of selected nodes as you do with a normal password. Then you can look at the entropy and the number of selected characters, etc. Here we have to add the extra dimension of the visual aspects. So the mathematical formula, it's just giving a score just to give a hint of how visually complex the patterns are. So it's about 6 to 46, a score to just give an indication of. So a fun thing about the patterns is that on average, all the patterns created, the 3,400, they only reach an average score of 13.6. Meaning that the patterns created they haven't the visual complexity. So if you're wondering what I'm using to calculate the visual complexity, I'm using the number of nodes, the physical length, as well as something is called an overlap. I think it's new to someone, but you can create a line that's going from the middle to the right and then to the other side. So then it looks like it's just one line, but you're actually selecting this one, and the last one there. It just looks like one line, and you can see where you start and end. And also using the intersection, so how many lines are crossing. So out of this, I'm kind of calculating the visual complexity. So, yeah. A fun thing also is that nobody managed to create a pattern with the highest complexity. I was like, when I sent out the survey, I thought that people would take it as a challenge to create the maximum complexity, but nobody actually,
Yeah, out of the 300,000 plus patterns, how many actually have the maximum complexity? Is there only one pattern that has that, or lots of them?
I don't have the exact number now, no. I will look it up.
But I mean, yeah, because you only collected 3,000, right? So
there's
if
more
only
than one.
had it, you'd kind of never expect anyone to ever get it.
No. So there is more between the 46 and 44 as well. So there's a lot of patterns above for the highest maximum score in data set. But I will check that out. So, as I said, it's only you're using only nodes, and I said that you don't use letters and numbers. But one thing about you that you actually have a name. So when I'm sending out the survey, a lot of people will come to me and say, you know, my mom used the first letter in her name as a pattern, so she can be able to remember it. So I was okay. So I looked through I went through all the possible letters in the alphabet and looked through all patterns to see how many patterns are actually corresponding to a letter in the alphabet. Fun thing though is, I was surprised that about 10.4% of the patterns correspond to a letter. And that's 1 in 10 patterns are actually corresponding to a letter. And that's, if you know about the person's first name, and if that is possible to create as a pattern, that's likely that the person actually used a letter as a pattern. And that was kind of interesting. That's the same, you can call it using it as association elements for remembering. And that's the same strategy people are using when you create a normal password. Using names, date of birth, thing you actually know so you don't forget the password. The fun thing about the Android catalog is that when you know where or a part of the pattern, you can restrict the number of patterns that are likely to be the pattern, because you can only select a node once. So I went through all the collected patterns, and there is a fun thing about the starting node, because it's not random. Because 44% of all the patterns were starting in the upper left corner. And about 73% of the patterns were either starting in this one, this node, and this node. Or if you add all the corners, you get a 77% of all the patterns collected. So, as I mentioned, hand size and, for instance, handedness. Because if you know, 90% of the population of Fox are right-handed. So, okay, this one might be biased by that a lot of the people are right-handed. If you look at how you hold the mobile phone and create patterns, if you, for instance, use one hand, if you're right-handed, you're using one hand, where do you have your thumb? Where do you reach on the screen? So, if you're using your right hand and creating a pattern, your thumb is reaching up to that corner. Okay, so if I'm left-handed, do I then start in the other corner? So, yeah, either using one hand and the thumb, or using two hands and the forefinger for creating the pattern. That's two of the main ways of creating a pattern. So, I looked at the right-handed respondents. So yeah, the numbers are about the same as we saw. The blue one is using one hand and the thumb, and the green one are using two hands, so the left hand and the forefinger. So yeah, that's what I expected from the results we saw earlier. So, left-handed. It's not different. That was not the result that I thought. At first, I was thinking about. I thought that people that are left-handed would start in the other corner, but they were right opposite, and I didn't know why. Because I was expected that there was actually a difference. So, one of the aspects that I mentioned that was the reading and writing directions. Because researchers have found that if you present a set of images, for instance, to a person and ask, can you remember these pictures in a given time interval, people that read from left to right would start scanning the pictures from the left to the right for remembering the pictures. So the pictures that are below or in bottom and to the right will be the picture that are least commonly recognized or remembered. And they also did this with people that had another reading direction. For instance, if you have an Arabic background, you probably read from the right to the left. So people that were reading from right to left were scanning the picture and remembering the pictures from right to left. Unfortunately, I did not reach a lot of people having another writing direction, but as a result here, that handedness did not impact at all. Either using one hand, two-handed, and right or left-handed, it was the same result. Everybody started in the same direction. So hopefully, someone knows a lot of people having another reading and writing direction. Please let me know, because I really really believe that if we have asked a set of people having a different reading and writing direction, we would see a different selection starting point and a different set of patterns. That's really cool. To continue with that, I looked at trigrams. That's a set of 3 nodes that are connected, so we can kind of track the behavior where the pattern actually are created. So these are the set of trigrams that are most commonly used. So this one, as I said, people start up in the left corner. When you start here, you'll probably go this way or this way. So all of these, as well as going through, move next to the grid as well. So keeping into the edges.
People stayed away from the diagonal, right? Going down the
people.
159, right.
All of these are like this one the most common, and then these, and then these. An example of a trigram that are rarely occurring is, for example, going from this node down to this node, for example, or from this one to this one. That's possible, but people aren't using that one because when you go from there to there, it's easy to kind of touch into the other nodes. So people are sticking to the edge as well as creating straight lines that are easy to type. So we're kind of able to see what people are actually creating. So I have a couple of minutes left. The average length, I was mentioned that as looked at the gender as well as the age of people. I didn't like this result at all. That wasn't what I expected. I wanted the opposite, but that's not how it works. I can't decide everything.
It just makes matter more.
Exactly. I like that.
I just need supporting, Jeff.
Yeah, but when I look at the patterns, the average length, maybe that's not so different. But if you look at the distribution of the patterns created, so these are the male participants and the female.
Could it be that length is more important to men? I win!
No, okay, thank you. So,
So you're
We need somebody to do some research. Volunteers?
yeah.
so your graph on the previous slide looked like a dramatic difference, but looking at this slide, the distribution looks basically identical. So do you
But
have
look at the scale.
And
So
here the
I was coming to it. So if you look at the percentage of people selecting the length 4.
Yeah.
So when you do statistical testing, you're more able to kind of, instead of just looking at the average, when you do statistical testing, you're able to catch that there actually is a statistical difference in the patterns, and not just looking at the average length. So the women actually had a higher percentage of the patterns with a longer length, and the opposite. And I just wanted to point out a result that I don't have an answer to. I do not know why. I can't explain the numbers, but on average, there are only 4% of the data set that have created patterns of length 8. Yeah, that's the only reasonable explanation, but there are actually over 140,000 unique combinations of patterns of length 8. So, if only about 4% of the people are creating a pattern of length 8, then you can probably likely just reduce the likely number of patterns with 140,000. I just looked at it. It was really fascinating. So, yeah, and just to recap, the age of people. So this is the average created pattern length, and I saw again a statistical significant difference between the patterns created by young people and older people, if I can say. So the graph is going, yeah. And that's good. So, but if you look at these ones, is it because people are more aware of security, or is it, I don't know why, but people, when I looked over my brother creating patterns and his friends, and they were swooping around on the screen and create amazing patterns. When I look at the patterns from other people, I know it's like, connect 4 dozen, that's fine, that's easy. Open the screens very fast. So, still have a couple minutes. So, for now, there are a researcher in Germany that have also done a lot of work on the Android catalog. And what I want to do further is to extend or develop a Marte model for doing statistical prediction of likely chosen patterns based on who you are. So, handedness, reading, writing direction, age, gender. There are created a Marte model based on collected data from another research project, but they do not have the extra information about the user. So, if we're able to kind of make a model of different people, like a profile, are we able to kind of be more successful to guess the patterns that people create? So that's one of the main kind of continue on this work, because it has more potential than for now. This is my master thesis, so this kind of wrapping up now. And I hope to continue on that. And also, please let me know if someone know a lot of people with another reading and writing direction, because I really want to know. I want to kind of promise you that that's actually impacting patterns. I really just want to say it, but I don't have the evidence yet.
Oh, QA?
Hmm?
Is it QA now? I'm sorry. I'm just
Yeah, we have to move to the Q&A. So.
Yeah.
Do you have one more slide, Marte? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, we do have, okay, okay, there are many questions. Make them very short, make them count. We'll do 2 questions. First one.
Have you released the data?
No, I don't have released, or I have a kind of a summary of everything that's going to be released as my master thesis that will be available if someone wanted to read it, but the data, raw data, I don't know if I'm able to just give it away, but if someone have kind of some ideas to use this information, please contact me and we will probably sell that.
For research purposes,
Yeah.
in Norway, there are very strict
really
privacy regulations for that. Okay. Second question.
What's the equivalent of password? It's like, what's the single most common pattern that you saw?
Pattern. So about 26% of all the patterns were using the. Oh, I can probably find the. So patterns starting from here, going that way and that way. So probably the L. Yeah. But these ones are actually 21% of all the pattern either started in using these 3 nodes or these 3 nodes. So that's 20%.
We have to break it up. We have to move to the next talk. But the good thing is, I told her to submit for DEF CON, and she got accepted for DEF CON.
Yeah.
So she's doing this talk on Friday. So there will be more time. She's staying here on Sunday. So there's lots more time to ask her questions, buy her a beer or drink, and come watch the talk all over again on Friday at DEF CON. So thank you.